In this video, we'll apply date formats to our logical if statements. This is important to help you identify information in your spreadsheet that is based on future and past dates, as this video will demonstrate. Please open your logical workbook and go to the Logical If Date tab to follow along in this lesson. So here we are on the spreadsheet, and I have added some data for us to work with. The following data will apply the if statement with a date to determine if compliance training is needed. Anyone who has joined the team after June 1st, 2020 will be required to complete training. Employees who began prior to this date have already completed training and will be marked as completed. The formula on your screen reflects the formula we'll be using. To make the if function recognize a date, we have to wrap it in the Datevalue function. Now this basically says if our reference cell address, which is C2 in this case, is greater than the date value, which is the function pointing to June 1st, then the first option will be to say schedule training. Now, if it's not greater than C2, then it will be marked with the second option, which is training completed. Okay, so now let's further break this formula down so we can further understand it. So number one has the equal sign followed by the if value, and this is the beginning of your formula. Number two marks the comparison cell followed by your operator sign. In this case, it will be greater than. Number three reflects the date value function followed by the date that we will be referencing. Now the formula must be wrapped in the date value. The date will be placed in quotation marks and parentheses. Do not forget the comma at the end. 4. These are the options that will be displayed if the value is true or false. The first option will be reflected if the value is true. The second option will be reflected if the value is false. Okay, and then the final step is to combine steps 2 and 4 and then simply place them in the red parentheses. Okay, so now that we understand our code, let's go ahead and write it for Dion and Tim, and then we'll do an autofill for the remainder of the team. So let's go ahead and place our mouse inside of cell D3, and in this case we'll be referencing cell C3 for Dion. Let's go ahead and say equal and if. Let's begin with parentheses. Now let's go ahead and reference cell C3 for the date that Dion joined the team. Let's go ahead and place our greater than sign. Next we'll type date value because this will be part of our formula. Okay, let's go ahead and start a new parentheses and enclose our date that we'll be referencing, which would be June 1st. So let's say 06/01/2020. Then we'll enclose it with quotation marks in its own parentheses. To close this part of the formula out, we need to go ahead and place a comma. Now the second part of our formula will be what we want returned if the value is true or false. So let's go ahead and place schedule training as our first option inside of quotation marks. Let's separate it by a comma and place training completed in quotation marks as our second option. Let's go ahead and close that out with a quotation mark. And now let's go ahead and close the entire formula with a parenthesis. Now, if our code is entered correctly, it should return a scheduled training because this will fall after June 1st. Let's go ahead and say enter. And as you can see, it indicates scheduled training, which is our expected results. Okay, we'll write the code for Tim and then we'll go ahead and do an autofill. Let's begin by placing our mouse inside of D4. Let's say equal and if. Let's go ahead and add an opening parenthesis and select cell C4. Let's go ahead and enter our greater than symbol and type date value. Now let's go ahead and place June 1st, 2020 in parentheses and quotation marks. Okay, let's go ahead and enter a comma to separate our formula from our return values. Option 1, we're going to go ahead and say schedule training. Let's make sure we have that in quotation marks. Let's enter a comma and place training completed in quotation marks as our second value. And let's go ahead and close it out with a closing parenthesis. Because Tim has started before June 1st, he should get a training completed. Let's go ahead and hit our enter button and see if Excel returns the correct information. And Tim is all set. Now let's go ahead and do an autofill and let's see if we get the right answers returned based on the information available. So I'm going to get my black cross and I'm going to simply drag it all the way down. So Felicia joined the team on May 1st, which will be before June 1st. So she has a training completed. Frank and James both joined the team at the June 1st. So we will need to schedule training for these team members. Jamie joined before June 1st. So again, she has training completed. And Tammy joined on November 20th. So she has scheduled training. So we're going to go ahead and close out this lesson. But feel free to make adjustments to the date value, the return text, and even the operator sign to see what other interesting formulas you can come up with. This video was based on the date supplied. The next video will be marked by the current date. So be sure to review both videos so you can see the differences in the formula.
So that wraps up this lesson from Microsoft Excel. I hope that you are getting the most out of these level up lessons. Please do let us know if you have questions or concerns. Take a break if you need to, and we will see you in the next video.